Good afternoon, Villa fans, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Talk. Also going to be previewing the West Ham game on Sunday as well. But yeah, just wanted to sort of jump on again. It's been about a week since I've done my last sort of Transfer Talk video. And since then, quite a bit's happened. You know, we've had some outgoing confirmed. We've had an incoming deal kind of collapse. We're kind of one injury away now from a potential centre-back crisis. So hopefully we are going to be very, very busy over the next sort of, 10 days or less than 10 days now, I think. But yeah, let's talk about, what's been happening. So Loic Bade is the big news, I suppose. Looked like everything was going along sort of smoothly, swimmingly. Monchi went out there and made a personal check on him and watched him play. And, looks like talks are ongoing. But in the last sort of 24 hours, it looks like Loic Bade has now decided to stay at Sevilla. Obviously, having talks with Villa, perhaps around things like game time, how is he going to be used? Does he want to come in as a kind of backup rotation for Ezri Konsa on that right centre-back position? And following sort of discussions, it looks like, we haven't been able to sort of please him in terms of minutes on the pitch, perhaps, and how much he's going to play, considering he's a first teamer at Sevilla and a very important player for them. And he's someone who's got aspirations of getting into the French national team. Does he feel like by coming to Villa and cutting his game time is going to have it probably would have a negative effect on his sort of international aspirations and career aspirations as well. So, I mean, Sevilla looked like they were ready to do a deal. So this doesn't look like it's a Sevilla problem. It looks like it's a Loic Bade personal kind of issue with maybe the game time coming into consideration here. So it looks like that one's hit the buffers at the moment. It might be, picked up again. We might be able to reconcile this before the end of the window. So I wouldn't say this is completely dead in the water. But it might take a little bit more smooching and a bit more Monchi and Emery kind of speaking to the player a little bit and giving assurances about game time and things like that. But yeah, Loic Bade at the moment, it's not going anywhere. So we've got rid of Diego Carlos yesterday to Fenerbahce, all confirmed. I believe it was a 10 million euro or 11 million euro fee, which is about sort of 9 million or so, which is not bad. Obviously, he's 31. He was on 100k plus as well. But I'm sure that Emery and Monchi would have only, got rid of Diego Carlos now if there was a centre-back incoming, and it obviously looked like Bade was the one. But we may have to revisit the database now and have a look and see who's on the shortlist and what other options there are out there. Obviously, we've talked about various centre-backs, sort of coming into sort of Villa, and obviously January not being the best kind of month to bring in players who are... Normally, when you bring in players in January, they're either outside of their sort of club team, they're not regular players, and they're looking for a fresh start. And that's probably what we're looking at in terms of the options that we've got now. So I've talked about in the past sort of several sort of centre-back options, and the names that sort of spring up again are Joel Ordonez from Club Brugge. Interesting enough, Club Brugge have literally just signed a new 18-year-old centre-back from a Swedish team called Kalmar, a guy called Vince Osuji, who's an 18-year-old centre-back. Joel Ordonez is only 20, so maybe they're already sort of replacing him with this player, but maybe they want to keep hold of Ordonez until the summer, give this new signing a bit more bedding in time. But who knows? Things obviously can progress quickly. That option now might be available now, whereas it probably was available in the summer. So that's an option that we should be looking at is Joel Ordonez, Ecuadorian 20-year-old. I think he's a right centre-back as well, but he looked very, very promising. I know that Villa have had scouts looking at him since we lost to Club Brugge, and he did a really good job sort of keeping Ollie Watkins quite quiet in that game. So that's a name that keeps popping up and won't go away. So it wouldn't surprise me if that name came to the fore in the next few days as a really sort of viable option if we can't resurrect the Loic Bade deal. Other names that are coming forward, Tomori from AC Milan, it looks like they want to get rid of him. But again, the only reason that he's looking to leave AC Milan is to get somewhere where it's regular game time. So coming to Villa, he's not going to be taking Ezri Konsa's place at right centre back. So we might have the whole Bade situation again, where he's going to want sort of guarantees about minutes on the pitch. But I can't see Tamori coming on a loan, perhaps. But why would he come on a loan as a backup? So this is a problem that we kind of have, or how we have to look at the market, is that we can't be playing or can't guarantee kind of minutes for players who want those minutes. So that's going to be a tricky situation. Kevin Danso is an Austrian centre back playing for Lens in the French league at the moment. He's been linked with us. He's 26, 6'3". Interesting story with him is actually when I worked at Reading sort of a long time ago, probably about sort of 10, 12 years ago in the academy. He was actually in the Reading Academy as a 14-year-old. And he was actually a striker back then, actually. So I remember sort of coaching him briefly, having him kind of on trial, I think it was, at Reading. And I remember him playing in a game alongside Matty Cash and Eze as well. So we had Eze, Cash, and Danso in the lineup for Reading in a couple of trial games about sort of 10, 12 years ago. But yeah, Danso is now an established centre back. So it will be interesting to see if he's available. He does look strong, does look quick. He's reading the game quite well. He likes to attack the ball in the opposition box from sort of set pieces as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that is an option that we can get. But yeah, Kevin Danso, Austrian centre back, again, another option there. Probably looking at same sort of price range for Bade, like 20 to 25 million, I would imagine, for him. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, there aren't any sort of obvious names. Twitter is not mentioning too many names that are available, but I think we will do business, and I think it will move quite quickly once it happens. There is one name that sort of stood out to me on the free agent list, which sounds a bit absurd, but I can't believe it. But Sergio Ramos, would he like a short-term deal? He's 38 years old, vastly experienced, but he's still kept himself in physical condition. He's built like a WWE wrestler. Is there something that Monchi can do there using those Sevilla contacts, past relationship perhaps with Ramos, to get him on a short-term deal for the rest of the season, playing him sort of sparingly? I'm not sure that he would want to come in somewhere and play every single week at 38, but having that sort of leadership and experience would be interesting. It depends what kind of wages he'd want, I suppose. But yeah, Sergio Ramos, still a free agent, not picked up. Could he give us a short-term option in defence? Because at the moment we are looking scarce. I say we're one injury away from a crisis, really. And Ezri Konsa went down against Monaco, and you looked across at the bench, and there wasn't much on there. It was going to be Swinkles or Bogard to come on at centre back, which is ideally not what you want. We've got this game coming up against West Ham. We've got an even bigger game coming up against Celtic next Wednesday as well. We need to keep Konsa and Mings kind of in bubble wrap, I suppose, and make sure that they are fit and available for that Celtic game as well. So, would it be nice to sort of maybe rest and rotate a little bit against West Ham with that game in mind? But we're not in that position at centre-back, especially if we don't have anyone. Luca Digne played at left centre-back in pre-season, but that is something that I don't want to see. But yeah, these are the sort of the options that we have at the moment. But I'm sure that Emery has a plan. I'm sure that Monchi has a plan. I'm sure they've been working on it. They wouldn't have let Diego Carlos go unless they were close to at least one new centre-back coming in. I still think we'll get two. I think we'll get someone who's more established and then one that is up and coming. But let's see what the next few days hold, really. It's going to be interesting. We've just signed Andres Garcia as well. That one was confirmed. I think 7 million euros. Looks a promising player, 21-year-old right back. Likes to get forward. Started off his career as a right winger. He looks comfortable on the ball, comfortable getting to the byline, can use his right foot, can also cut in on his left as well, and scored a few bangers with that left foot as well. I think, obviously, it will take a little bit of time for him to settle into the pace of the Premier League and things like that. But I do see him being good competition for Cash, keeping Cash on his toes. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what Andres Garcia can do for us in the second half of the season. And that just gives us a nice little balance, especially on the fullbacks now. We've got Martin and Dina, and now we've got Garcia and Cash. And I'm sure that Konsa Nedeljkovic is probably heading towards that loan exit door as well in the next few days too. But I think we are definitely in the market for centre-backs by the looks of it. It looks like this is the only position that we really need to cover off. And yes, we probably do need one, maybe even two. But yeah, I mean, those are the names. So Ordonez, Tomori, Danso, and well, Ramos is my own little name that I'm throwing in there. But is there anyone else that we could be looking at? Is there any other names that are coming forward? We were linked with obviously Oscar Mingueza, who can play as a centre back. But now that we've got Andres Garcia as the right back, I'm not sure that we would look at Mingueza as just a centre back option, because it's not his strongest position, is it really? If we're being honest, so I can't see that being looked at too closely. But yeah, I've got a feeling that Monchi is going to be firing up the laptop, get the database out, and who is on there that we've been scouting over the last sort of 6 months, maybe from last year, and what's their situation now. I mean, in terms of players sort of running down contracts, I mean, there aren't too many. I had a quick check on Transfer Market about who's available, who's potentially gettable now with their contract expiring in the summer. And there wasn't that many centre-backs kind of on there that kind of were realistic. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk, but that's not going to happen. There was a PSV defender, I think, who was quite highly rated, but I'd never heard of him, and he turned out he's less than 6 foot tall anyway. So it's not kind of, we don't want a Lisandro Martinez as a centre back here. So it's going to be interesting last few days of the window, because there's no obvious names that are springing up. I think personally that Loic Bade will be the one who comes through the door. I think we'll resurrect that deal. I think it's too far down the line. It's too many discussions have been had. Monchi's been out there. Things seem to be agreed with Sevilla. It's just a case of does Bade want more guaranteed game time, or does he want an extra couple of grand in the pocket? Does he want more assurances on the financial side rather than sort of the playing side? So I think that one probably will be resurrected, and we will probably get that one over the line. But let's see. And then moving on to sort of West Ham on Sunday. We've just played them in the cup and beat them, so it's going to be kind of fresh, and they're coming into this with quite significant injuries. We've got our own injuries too, but if we look at the tail of the tape, they're 14th in the Premier League. This will be Graham Potter's 4th game in charge of them. They've got, as I said, injuries last 5 games as well. They've lost 2-0 to Palace at home. Mateta getting both of those. They beat Fulham 3-2. Then they lost to, obviously, Villa in the Cup. Then we lost to City 4-1. And then they lost 5-0 to Liverpool as well, which I think was that Lopetegui's last game? I think it might have been, or the City game. Not too sure. But anyway, and goal scorer-wise, they've got Jared Bowen, their top scorer, on 6, but he's missing from this game apparently. And then they've got Paqueta and Souček on 5 goals each as well. And then I think Kudos is on 3 as well. And Kudos is probably the one that's going to lead the line on Sunday, because they are struggling. And they've got Danny Ings there, but they don't really sort of favour him. I think Potter prefers a bit more pace in his attack, and he's gone with sort of Kudos with Paquetá and Souček sort of supporting. And they've got injuries and they've got suspensions. So Mavropanos was sent off against Palace for a second yellow. He's out of this game. Obviously, Jared Bowen, as I mentioned, he's out of this game. Fulkrug out of this game as well. Picked up that injury at Villa Park. Antonio, obviously, out for the season. Somerville also out for this game, apparently so. And Todibo at the back. So, they're missing their first choice centre-back pairing by the looks of it there. So Todibo and Mavropanos. I think they've still got Kilman, though. But they're going to have to reshuffle the pack a little bit there as well, West Ham. And, I think they're going to struggle in this game. But let's say they're always a danger. Obviously, we know what Paquetá is like and how much of a danger that he can be. And he comes alive against Aston Villa. So we'll be interested to see how we sort of match that up with them. But as I said, we've got our own injuries too. So we've got McGinn, who's probably going to miss this game. He might be on the bench, actually, for this one. I see that he was doing some individual training before the Monaco game on the grass by himself with a one-to-one coach. So interesting to see. I think he'll make the bench for this one. and he might get the last for a few minutes or so, because I think he wants to be back on the grass for the Celtic game. So don't be surprised if McGinn does make the bench for this one. Ross Barkley, obviously we haven't had Unai's press conference, so I'm not sure how far away Ross Barkley is, but you know, looks like we need him now. We're running out of sort of options at sort of CDM as well. Onana looks like he's out for another couple of weeks. You know, it's frustrating because he plays one game, does well, and he's injured again, and it's just like you just can't get that. You can't build up momentum. This is why, you know, Dougie was so durable for us. He very rarely missed a game. But Onana's legs seem to be made out of Lego, and you know, he seems to pick up injuries very, very quickly. I'm not sure if it's because of his physical build and how tall he is. Does that play into the muscles and all that sort of stuff? But he seems to pick up injuries very, very quickly. I'm not too sure. I mean, I still think we should look at Dougie Luiz as an option, but could happen still. Could happen. Obviously, we've got Pau Torres missing, and he's out for this game as well, which leaves us quite thin at centre-back now. And then predicted lineup-wise, I mean, you know, there's not much we can change, really. I mean, the defensive line picks itself. Obviously, Martinez. Right back will be Cash. Centre-back will be Konsa and Mings. And then left-back, you've either got Digne or Martsen. I'd probably start with Digne and put on Martsen like he did in the Cup game. And then CDM-wise, you know, it's got to be Kamara and Tielemans again. There's not many options outside of that. But where we can shake things up a little bit is in that sort of three in behind the front man. I think Morgan Rogers was a little bit unwell, but I think he'll play in this game on the left. And then that sort of the pocket, the number 10 role. I thought Emi Buendia was probably our best player against Monaco. And I won't be surprised if he got another start here. So I'm going to go for Buendia in the 10. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to give a debut to Daniel Malen. I think it's time to give Bailey a little bit of a rest. And there is a reason for this as well. I think start Bailey on the bench, start Malen from the start, because Malen can't play against Celtic anyway. So give him a start, give him an hour, maybe 70 minutes. And then you bring on Bailey, who's more fresh. And hopefully with that in the last 20 minutes, a fresh Bailey, we'll be able to do some damage, maybe get a goal or an assist, get his confidence up for the Celtic game. But if you start with Bailey and you're hauling him off after 60 minutes or so and bringing on Malen, how's that going to make Bailey feel in terms of his confidence going into the Celtic game? So you'd rather have Bailey coming on, fresh-legged, impacting the game, goal or assist or things like that, and then going into that Celtic game where he can play and probably more likely to play than Malen, because Malen is not, not eligible for it. Then you've got that, hopefully, that more confidently on Bailey coming into that Celtic game. So that's just my sort of rationale and thinking about why Malen should start here. And then up front, you know, Watkins, I think maybe he just about gets the nod here. But I would be very, very clear about, right, I'm giving you the shirt. It's your opportunity to keep it and take it. I'd in fact said to him, right, you've got 45 minutes. Show me what you can do in that first half. If not, half time, John, you're coming on. And that's the way that's the level of competition, and that's how it needs to work with these two. They can't play up front together. I've really gone through that, but it is literally a case of, right, here's the shirt, keep it, play well, score a goal, assist, and you stay on the pitch. If you don't do any of those, you're coming off at half time. It's just the way it needs to be. So that's my thoughts on that. Score prediction wise, I'm going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to go for a Daniel Malen Villa Park goal. I'm going to go with a 3-1 Aston Villa win. And I think Malen might get one, might even get two if he starts the game. And obviously Malen can be pushed inside as a 10 as well, as a second support striker. And I think that he would perform that second striker role a lot better than Watkins or Duran would. Yeah, just my thoughts, guys. Let me know yours. Let me know your score predictions. Let me know your team lineup predictions. Does Malen get a start? Does Bailey need a rest? And transfer news-wise, who are we looking at? What centre-backs are there realistically out there in the market that would come to Villa now in January? Is there any names that we should be looking at? Let me know. I'll have a little look into them. do a bit more of a technical kind of deep dive and see if they're any good for us. But yeah, until the next video, guys, which will be a match reaction on sort of Sunday evening. Up the Villa. Let's get 3 points. Let's get some new centre backs into the door. And until the next one, enjoy your weekends. Bye bye.